Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and today is New Year's Eve in sunny old Sydney, and it's a hot one. It's a sweltering day, and I've had to close the windows so I can do the audio on this video without having too much noise come in from the street behind me. So I am in the sweatbox because I love you. That's why. We're looking at this tank, the Valentine 2. Now, the Valentine 2 is a rusky vehicle. I set out like a complete innocent, naive child of the world to make a video on the Valentine 2. To make a video on the Valentine 2 and to review it and to let the people know what the Valentine 2 was all about. And didn't I have an exciting couple of hours? It's okay. It was absolutely incredible and action-packed. And oh my good golly. You see, the Valentine 2 is a premium tank. It doesn't earn a whole lot of cash, and it doesn't have a whole lot of firepower. What it has is just an absolute bucket full of Stalin's finest armour all around it. It is a very, very hard to pen tank for some of the tanks that it's going to see in the same tier. And it can be angled really effectively, and it can be side-scoped really effectively. In fact, it's the kind of tank you can just drive around and press the button with and not worry about too much else. And even though you'll get the occasional person at Tier 4 who can play, it's by no means a foregone conclusion that there's going to be anyone on the other team who has enough of a clue to actually kill you, despite the fact that you, like me, may not be able to shoot straight. What the Valentine 2 lacks is a good gun. It has fantastic armor, but it has a very, very bad gun. In fact, it's got a tier 2 gun. Now, to give you some perspective on why that is really crappy, all the other tanks you're going to see at tier 4, the normal tech tree tanks, will generally finish off with a tier 5 weapon or a tier 4 weapon at the very least. And those tier 5 and tier 4 weapons have much higher pen numbers than the gun that the Valentine 2 runs. And that's fair enough, because it's a tank that's balanced on that whole idea. Big, strong armor, premium tank, so you can spend a little bit on the premium ammunition if you have to, and you're going to bounce an awful lot of shots, which is true, you do. It's a high rate of fire gun, but your average pen is only 51mm on your AP. That is not a whole hell of a lot. And your average pen on your APCR is 84mm. Again, that is not a whole hell of a lot. But when you're running all your bits and pieces, you're going to get nearly 20 rounds a minute. 18.53 rounds a minute, in fact, is what you're going to get out of the Valentine 2. And I ran it, and this is the oddest thing, I ran it with vents, a repair kit, and a spall liner. Because a lot of people who go seal clubbing at this tier who can't pen you are going to run they're going to run high HE shots at you, like hetzers and things like that. If they don't have heat, or if there's anything with like a big derpy gun, they'll fire HE at you. So the spall liner helps. Plus, when people just can't flat out pen, they'll fire HE, and that, again, that helps. It also helps if people run into you and all kinds of things. It's just basically, there's not a whole lot else worth putting on here. And the repair kit, likewise, same deal. Like it's just, what else are you going to put on? You can't mount a vertical stabilizer. You don't have a gun rammer. You can put an enhanced gun lane drive on it. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, your gun's pretty quick with the aim time. It's not the aim time that's going to hurt you. It is the fact that it has no penetration. So I'm going to show you 2 games in a row here. Normally I like chop up a whole heap of footage and I play 20 or 30 games in a tank, and I slice it and dice it so that the video actually looks interesting, and then I give you a couple of signature games. We're not going to muck around with that. And you can see this game here is particularly of interest because my team is getting absolutely flogged. And it's me. Now, there is the Matilda. One of the reasons, let's be honest. The reason I don't like playing the Valentine 2 is because of the Matilda. I had the good fortune, or the ill fortune as some would say, to actually drive this thing, and in nearly every game, I ran into a Matilda. And you can see here, I'm firing APCR. I've completely forgotten. I've only just realised now that I've fired APCR the whole time. So I've had to switch, and the reason I'm really worried about that now is because that's a Matilda. Even firing APCR, my highest pen is 84 millimeters. Do you want to see a tomato that moves around the battlefield? That's what it looks like, the Matilda. His platoon mate is a little bit rude and has a go at me and says rape, and that really annoys me. And I never play for draws, right? Never, ever, ever. Unless they're rude. And if you're rude, I'm just going to give you no satisfaction whatsoever. So I'm going to bail. And I'm bailing because I can't kill the guy. I've got 2 rounds of APCR left. I average 55 damage with my APCR. So you're not going to do a whole lot of damage. And then this guy gets even saltier. And this is what happened to me. I kept running into people driving Matildas. And the Matilda is not... Look, it's a good tank, don't get me wrong. It's a seal clubbing tank for sure. And I enjoyed driving it for a while. I gave up on it. I got a steel wall where I ran into autoloaders and got like 250 shots bounced. But it's boring as bat poo because it's a lot like the T95. Once someone gets to a point where they decide they just can't pen you, they quite often just leave you alone, and that's it. That's the end of your game. And in the Valentine 2, I couldn't pen him, and he couldn't catch me. So we had this lovely situation where, because they were rude up top, I decided to just give them a draw. And that's exactly what I did. And that's the issue with the Valentine 2, and an issue with all these kind of tanks like the Panzer 2J and the Matilda and these low-tier seal clubbers that have exceptional armour. They rely on people being a little bit silly and actually pushing and trying to kill you when they simply cannot pen you. I've got 2 rounds of APCR left. That is a total of 110 average damage. And there is a lot more than 110 hit points to get through. And I can try side scraping, and that's all well and good. But he doesn't seem to be silly enough to actually fall for that. And so I'm in a situation where all I can do if I can't kill him, and I don't want to give him the satisfaction of getting a win because I feel that he was a bit rude and he also called me a coward, is just give him a draw. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And he's firing HE because he's experiencing the same issue that I have, which is he can't pen me. The only problem is HE at this tier on a tier 2 gun is going to give you next to no satisfaction against that much armor. The caliber on the gun is only 45 millimeters. It just won't do anything for you. Now, the Valentine has a fine rate of fire. It's got a fine armor profile. It's got a horrible gun, but it's not terrible in terms of mobility. You've got 43 degrees of traverse after all your buffs on your tracks. And you've got 42 degrees of traverse after you're using all your gear, like your vents and your rations and such, on your actual turret. And that's fine. That's more than adequate. There's no worries. And if you're looking for a premium that is an easy, simple drive, that is just point and click and will bounce shells for you and will actually give you some enjoyment when you're new to the game at an early mid-tier, then this isn't a bad option. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to review it, because if you look in the Russian tech tree, you can purchase the Valentine 2. It's considered a light tank, which is hilarious, much like the Matilda is considered a medium tank, which is also hilarious. I don't know how they designate these things. I don't know the designations. Don't get upset at me. And you're going to see this game. Guess what? There's a Matilda on the other team. Now, you can see where I'm going with this. I am going to absolutely wallop the red team. Absolutely belt them. And there's a couple of guys here who seem to know what they're doing. Panzer 4D, I've reviewed in the past, so I know it's got 160 average alpha on its gun. It's got good gun depression. It's got really good penetration and everything. And it can tear up tanks like Matildas and Valentine 2s who rely on armor to be powerful. So I am more worried about that Panzer 4D than I am with regard to any other tank in the game. I'm also going to point out that if you look behind me, there's a whole heap of tanks that just aren't moving. They're just sitting there. I can't help that. This is tier 4. I heartily recommend this tank, though. I know that's funny considering what I'm saying here, but this is very, very picky for me. And I'm showing you 2 funny games in that one was a Matilda that I just couldn't kill, and there's a Matilda in this game as well. And I don't know if you've read between the lines here and figured out exactly what's going to happen in this game, but here you go. And I'm perma-tracking. Now, this can perma-track tanks. You can see there, I'm constantly smashing the drive wheel of that Panzer 4D, and then I'm driving forward at a slight angle to try and make sure he can't get me, and then pulling back so that I'm screwing with his actual gun depression, and there you go, and we get rid of him. He was important to get rid of. And it's now 4-on-4, although I've got absolutely no faith in my compadres because they are all right at the back of the game. And I am reversing in very, very slow fashion over that hill. I've decided, stuff it. I know how to play. I'm in a tier 4 game. I'm going to go get involved. So I do. I'm going to push down. They're still here on this corner of the world. Here comes the little BT7. Get one into him. And I still haven't given myself the right consumables, by the way. I mean, I don't have adrenaline. And I've just noticed this now too, by the way. Very, very useless. I'm going to sidescope off this rock. I have bounced a couple of shots. And it's basically me versus the world. And you're going to see just how effective this little tank is. I mean, I'm going to get hit here, but I'm bouncing a lot of shots. There's the Matty. Look how red. These are tomato. Love a tomato. Over-angling here, so you'd expect me to take one eventually. There you go. Very worried about this Matilda, and very worried about my complete lack of penetration, which is giving me no end of strife here. I'm having to really line shots up. The rest of my team has started moving, which is amazing. They've pushed up. I'm so impressed with them. They've grown up, and they will be in their big boy pants very, very soon. But this is tier 4. You can't expect any more than this. Anyway, back to the Valentine 2. So you can see the armour being put into full effect here, and it's mobile enough that you can get around the place and put that armour to use. But the pen numbers can be horrifying when you run into other Valentine 2s or Matildas or anything that's got that really, really strong armour profile. You can see APCR into the back and it doesn't go through. You know what's coming, don't you? I can pen him on the flat sides, but he can pen me. He's got a better gun than I do. I've shot an awful lot of bullets. An awful lot. I don't have a lot of AP left. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. That Matilda has eyes only for me. So I'm going to push forward, and I'm actually going to use, because I know now, if I don't do it, no one else in the team is going to do it. I'm going to get in front of this Panzer II and try and use him as cover from the Matilda, who will not leave me alone. And I'm side-scraping off the Panzer II, which is pretty hilarious. Taking out this guy here. It's going to take me 2 shots to get through there. There we go. Get nutted with him. I bounce one again. The Matilda has finally switched targets, which is good. And I'm now into the BT7. Whew. I mean, I love playing lower tier tanks, but I tend to play when I want to just go and have a break, but I can't imagine that I'm going to be playing things like this very often. But if you are looking and you are new to the game, this is a great first premium to get. It'll teach you side scraping, it'll teach you angling your armor, and it'll teach you to actually conserve your hit points so that you can get shots off and such and hold on till the end of the match. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's really important. And that's probably why I would recommend this as a first tier 4 medium for anyone out there that is wondering about what premium to buy. And I know it's not like a tier 8 tank, but if you go and drive a Lerva or an IS-3 Defender or an IS-6 or something at tier 8, you're probably doing it wrong. First of all, go low end. See if you actually like that play style. You know, the big tank with good armor that actually drives a little bit slower than the rest of the field. And even though it doesn't have the gun that those tanks do, it's a good place to learn. The Panzer S35 is another one that you can purchase in the tech tree, which is a good option. And I may well do a review on that. I'd stay clear of the T14 at tier 5. And if you're looking for another low tier medium, well, it's not too low tier, but the Excelsior, the tier 5 in the Brit tier is excellent as well. And here we go. This is why I really stopped driving this tank. I've got 26 seconds left. I've not been remiss in trying to win the game. I've been firing a lot of bullets. I had 20 APCR rounds when this started and 20 AP rounds. I have fired 15 of my AP rounds and nearly 20 of my APCR rounds. And that's like 32, 33, 34 shots. Honest to God. And what have I got at the end of it? I've got a 1700 damage steel wall, high caliber, top gun, first class in a draw. I mean, this is the joy of driving some of these lower tier tanks. And the poor old Matty, it's not his fault. He's new to the game. But that's what I'm talking about. That's why he's got a 38% win rate and hardly any games played. He's probably a kid and he's just learning how to drive and he's doing the right thing. He's learning how to drive in a really strong, well-armoured tank. And that's good. But it's frustrating if you want a SEAL Club. So I fully deserved both those draws and I put them in there to show just how big a numpty I can be. So congratulations to me. I sucked. But if you are entering the arena of Blitz and you're looking for an easy to drive, low tier premium, I'd probably go with the Valentine 2. Simple point and shoot tanking that doesn't require an absolute encyclopedic knowledge of game mechanics. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Enjoy your holidays. Happy New Year to everyone. This will probably come out after New Year's, but whatever. I'm giving you the season's greetings right now. Until next time, stay safe on the battlefield.